and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who always makes the knockout round. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I'll take that. That makes me happy.
Of the Europa League.
Oh, that's less exciting.
I built you up just to knock you down to the second tier competition.
That does mean I could have theoretically been in the Champions League, so at least there's that. But it also means I underperformed in the Champions League, so there's also that.
It's a little bit Borussia Dortmundy.
Oh, we're starting there? That's how we're starting today?
Well, we can start wherever you like. We're going to do thumbs up, thumbs down, inspired by Mr. Romelu Lukaku. For the Champions League match day 4? Yep. Yes, match day 4, the Tuesday and Wednesday game. So I think I watched Spurs Real Madrid, and that's the only game I watched beginning to end. The rest was highlights. So we're going to sort of do a quick scan around Europe and what we saw.
Yes,
so you want to start us off with your thumbs? Where are they going?
I think my thumbs are going to go up for Tottenham.
Okay.
But first, they're going to go down for Casemiro, because what was he doing? He was, quote-unquote, grabbed by Harry Winks, and then he attempted to do something. I'm not sure what he did. He basically attempted to fall over, then he attempted some more, then eventually he fell over.
I would say thumbs up to Casemiro for getting in the Halloween spirit and pretending there was a ghost on the field.
Yeah, that's one. Or maybe he was like doing a reverse zombie, like a zombie who walks backwards. I don't know. It was very odd.
It was the way he stared at the ref as he fell backwards was like brains.
But I also just enjoyed, like, in much the same way that just a minute ago when you couldn't remember what the match day was, you looked up.
You can't prove that.
And then you looked up for like very briefly, and then in a quarter second, you had that brain fire that said, like, it's on your computer, and then you looked really fast and knew it. It felt like
in The Negotiator. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you look up to the left, up to the right. Yeah, but in this situation, I felt like Casemiro's brain just kept being like, just keep stumbling. Eventually it will look genuine.
Stare at the ref.
Keeps going. It's like a bad FIFA animation from 1996, and then he falls over. Yes.
All right, I'm going to go thumbs up to Spurs in that game. And by the way, if you're not aware,
it's probably the logical way to go with this one.
It was a 3-1 win for Spurs at Wembley that puts them top of the group, and I think gives them a Q next to their name, right? They're now called Tottenham Hotspur Q.
Yep, sure, why not?
Thumbs up to Spurs back 5 for doing it military haircut style.
All right, I'm going to assume that's high and tight?
High and tight, Yep. I really had a good look at them because I kind of went back and rewatched them. They had, Trippier and Ben Davies would come back and join the back 3. They had a back 5, so hard to keep an offside line with a back 5, and they always kept it tight, and they kept it high up the field as well. Davinson Sanchez, right, young player, only joined recently, made sure he was the very central one. He was keeping everybody pushed up, and they never gave Real Madrid a chance.
You have stumbled upon this. Might be my new favorite analogy you've ever come up with, because
high and tight?
Really, in terms of defending, there's really no negative way to look at it. Like a high and tight, like it's uniform. You want your defense uniform doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like simple and to the point. That's what you want your defense doing. You don't want them being overly elaborate.
And Ronaldo kept testing them. If you go back and watch this game, you'll see Ronaldo does, as all great players do, like Suarez does this as well. He would run offside and then start drifting back on, because you can trick an offside trap that way, right? Like maybe someone else bursts through, but then you're in behind already. And they would like Sanchez would drop with him for a second, then be like, nah, not buying it. Step back up. So they kept really disciplined and didn't get scared of Ronaldo, essentially.
And I think the other way they did that so that they didn't get scared of Ronaldo was they didn't let him get the ball.
Yes.
That was a big part of the game, was cutting off the service to Ronaldo, which they did really well in the first half. And then in the second, I think it was the adjustment was, okay, how do we transition that into more attacking options? Because once they figure that out, they get more goals, they get the win.
And I would argue that part of the line being high allows then the midfield to be a little higher and allows sort of everybody to put pressure farther forward and just makes it harder for Real Madrid to come at you. Great performance from Spurs.
And I want to say, individually, thumbs up to Dele Alli for overcoming an obstacle, because there was a lot of talk actually leading into this past weekend about how Dele Alli was struggling, how he wasn't getting his name on the score sheet. There were those little moments of petulance that we saw a year ago.
Right? He's 21. People got to remember that.
And I think
he's conserving his energy to win the World Cup as well.
There's that. He's got to continue the tradition. U17, U20. You guys talked about that on the Top Door Soccer Show today. It was good. I listened. I enjoyed. I enjoyed you.
Go subscribe.
I enjoyed you guys doing everything you possibly could not to offend people from Montana. Well done. Nicely done. You've learned your lesson. But I want to say...
Don't look at me. That was Travis.
And you called him out for it quite appropriately. But Dele Alli, there's a lot of talk about him coming into this past weekend and then into this game, that he wasn't performing as well. And I think the best way to silence those critics, and maybe silence the critics in your own brain, is to score a brace against Real Madrid. Yeah.
Yeah, there are worse ways to go, right?
Pretty decent way to do it, yeah.
So, for his first goal. So it's the ball ends up out wide. Trippier sends the ball across. Ali is at the far post. Very similar to a move they tried earlier in the game, and a move Spurs always try, right? I feel like Spurs are the best at this sort of low ball driven across the sort of front of the 6-yard box. So I've got thumbs up to Spurs for officially owning the corridor of uncertainty. And in a Halloween kind of special, the hallway of horrors, I think is what Spurs call it.
Wow.
They are the best at that ball. I feel like everybody can play it. We've seen Harry Kane play it. We've seen Dele Alli play it. Christian Eriksen owns it. Now Trippier is getting in on it as well. All the Spurs players are brilliant at playing that ball that tempts the keeper out. It's like behind the defence, in front of the keeper. And then you always see the Spurs players are sort of ready to be on the end of it because they know it's coming.
And really, yeah, when you say all of the Spurs players, I agree with you. But obviously, Dele Alli has that ability. Harry Kane can find those passes too, as we saw. And then the one that, who got the third goal, who I think is the kind of player most primed to find those little gaps and find those little spaces.
Mr. Christopher?
That's the one. Wait, Christopher.
Christian, sorry.
There we go. I was
Mr.
like, wait
Christian.
a minute. You got there first. And I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, Christian Eriksen, who gets the goal, but we know him as the ability to find that space, find those balls. And really, yeah, on the end, though, it was kind of everyone from Tottenham doing big things.
A final thumbs up from this game is to Harry Kane for being a wolf.
Explain.
You know why? So if Man City are the Sharks, Harry Kane is the wolf because that first goal, Nacho is trying to shepherd the ball out and Harry Kane sort of just jogs up behind, and you think it's going to be that thing where the strike. You've seen this before, right? When a defender shepherds the ball out over the line, striker leans into him and can't get around him and doesn't know what to do. Kane slows up as if he's not going to get there, and then accelerates into the corner and forces Nacho to make a decision. Nacho ends up playing it out for a throw-in. Harry Kane takes it quickly. Winks flicks it over. Diagonal balls it over to Trippier. That's how that ball comes around.
I see.
Will traps it. That's what he does. He Will traps it out to the wing.
I like the verbiage there.
I'm sure that's what Winks was thinking. I'll be just like Will Trapp when I do this.
First of all, obviously. Second of all, we always talk a little bit about how Harry Kane isn't that fast. And I'm wondering, is he faster than we give him credit for?
I think he's not fast, but he's faster than we give him credit for.
There it is. So it's probably he's not fast by other player standards of Kylian Mbappe might have him beat for pace.
Yeah.
But he's still plenty fast for a professional athlete.
Yeah. He shouldn't race DeAndre Yedlin anytime soon.
No. I do want to add, before we move on from this game, it was sort of strange in the sense that afterwards, Madrid losing 3-1 is always going to be kind of a dramatic thing. Afterwards, Zinedine Zidane said basically, we didn't play worse than them. We just didn't prepare as well as we should have. He said that after this weekend.
I don't quite know what that means.
I don't either. Ronaldo had a simpler explanation, which is basically that we don't have the strength we had last season. We have a lot more youth, and that can be a good thing, but they don't have the experience that you need to kind of handle all these different competitions.
So you were looking at the bench, right? Last year there was James coming off the bench. This year James is playing for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, it was James, Pepe, and I forget the third one that they've all kind of focused on.
Besiktas playing elsewhere in the Champions League, right?
You're darn right he is. Oh, and Alvaro Morata was the other obvious one.
I see.
So all players who kind of could come off the bench to have an impact. And you look at it this season, and again, it's a lot of youngsters who are very exciting. But for Madrid, the bench was Asensio, Mayoral, Hernandez, Vallejo, Vasquez, Ceballos, Ayram. So you've heard of some of those names, but maybe not quite as much as you've heard of.
Only because of the TSS scouting network. I feel like most people haven't heard of those
But
names.
they probably have heard of Sissoko, Dembele, Llorente, Danny Rose, Son, Vorm, and Aurier. All of those names are very prominent. A lot of people know those names. That was the Tottenham bench.
Was Kyle Walker-Peters not on the bench?
He was not.
That's disappointing.
Serge Aurier, man. Serge Aurier's up in there. So it was weird to me to think of Tottenham Madrid and look at that bench and be like, oh, you kind of do favor Spurs there. That's an odd thing to feel.
Did Madrid have some injuries? Keylor
Four
Navas
starters,
was out,
yeah.
right? I got that wrong on the previous show. It's Kiko Casilla in goal.
Carvajal, Bale, and not Benzema.
Varane.
There it is.
Varane is out. Yeah, Benzema played. Right?
I'm just used to Benzema being injured from last season. Yeah. But four starters and then also Kovacic injured too.
Final, I want to give a thumbs up to Spurs for proving that they are one goal better than Girona.
There you go. That's what they've always been trying to do. I'm sure a lot of strangely specific goals for them in this game. Will Traps and Gironas and whatnot.
Outdo Girona and spread the play like Will Trap.
Before this train derails further, I think we're going to move us on to a different game. Does that work for you?
Yeah, where you want to go?
I'm going to move further abroad, but also continue to talk about England because I'm going to go with Napoli 2, Manchester City 4.
All right.
I'm going to say thumbs up, for obvious reasons, to Sergio Aguero. Breaks the Man City all-time goal-scoring record. It maybe says something that we don't know who previously held that record.
Yeah.
But, whatever. I also enjoyed that a lot of people...
I'm going to say Sean Gota. It wasn't really.
It was not. But I also enjoyed a lot of people kind of creating this narrative of Sergio Aguero breaks this is really how I saw it phrased a lot. He breaks the Man City scoring record against Diego Maradona's former club, and then to celebrate handed his record-breaking jersey to Diego Maradona's grandson, as though that wasn't Sergio Aguero's kid. That's the part that they're leaving out, is that Sergio Aguero, I believe, is still married to the daughter of Diego Maradona.
Isn't it Diego's birthday today?
That might also
maybe
be the case.
Yesterday. He very recently turned 57.
Oh, well, in that case, shots fired at Diego for not giving him the jersey. Come on, man. But anyway, Sergio Aguero, he is sort of oh yeah, he's there too. You kind of forget how good he is because Man City have so many other incredibly talented players. But he is the player you kind of look to get that clutch goal in those final moments of a game.
Well, I would look to Man City centre backs. So I'm saying thumbs up to Manchester City for delivering on set pieces. Their first 2 goals in this game were from Otamendi, a header from not direct from a corner. I think De Bruyne took a quick corner backwards and the cross came in. Otamendi scores. Second goal, John Stones' header.
I feel like this is it.
From a corner kick. No, but doesn't this seem like this happens quite regularly now with Manchester City? It's not just those sort of big, expansive moves that they put together. It's also just banging goals in off corner kicks. It's this double threat that they've got. It's normally a team. Do you remember when Barcelona were, Pep Guardiola Barcelona? I don't remember them scoring a lot of goals off corner kicks because they had big guys meeting balls in the air. You know what I mean? It was almost like a weakness they had.
Oh no, I was simply teasing you because I thought maybe there was a chance that you just wanted to talk about this so you could mention an English center back.
No, not that at all. No.
But I'll add further evidence.
I'm not just talking about the double threat of Man City. It's like the play on the floor and then these sort of set piece deliveries that end up in a lot of goals. It seems. If you're Otamendi should not be scoring this many goals and Stones should not be scoring this many goals.
You say Otamendi first, but the exhibit A of your argument here is: do you know who their leading goal scorer is in the Champions League?
Is it Otamendi?
It's John Stones. 3 goals in the Champions League.
Of course, he had a couple the other day. Yeah.
Yep. So he's their leading Champions League goal scorer, even with Sergio Aguero breaking records.
Right. So and the plan is not the plan, but what happened is score 2 goals on set pieces and score 2 more on counter attacks.
Yep. It'll work
to finish
done.
Napoli 2, Man City 4. But we should give also a thumbs up to the outside of Dries Mertens' foot.
Yes.
So that first goal, because Napoli took the lead, it's what's his name? Insigne. Yeah. Lorenzo Insigne scored the first goal from an incredible outside of the foot assist from Dries Mertens. Even though they lost the game, maybe go find that goal because it's really worth taking a look at.
It is. It's also worth taking a look at Napoli in general. We talked about them a little bit in the weekend roundup, but
we don't watch enough Serie A, do we?
No,
we can't claim massive familiarity.
We don't. But it is sort of worth noting here. We need more hours in the day.
Yes. Who do we talk to about that?
I don't know.
Berlusconi.
Whoever did the calendar.
The Gregorians?
Yeah, that's what I was like. No, I don't know what to say anymore. But Napoli, it's I think because of the way they've been in the past, where they were never really challenging for the title in Serie A, but they were that team that was oh yeah, they're in the Champions League again, but who knows? It's kind of easy to overlook them and easy to overlook the accomplishment that this game was. We talked about them on the weekend. They're top of Serie A right now. They're scoring goals for fun. They've got tons of players in the best form they've been in. So to go in there and get 4 and shut them down at home, kind of a big deal.
As a Man City achievement, yeah. Absolutely. Even surrounded by that running track.
Yes.
I forgot all Italian stadiums, old Italian stadiums. The fans are so far from the field.
Yes.
I kept thinking, what is this stadium empty? What's going on?
And before we get tweets, Daryl said old, not all.
Yes, old.
Yes.
Yeah, certainly not the new stadiums.
Yeah. Where would you like to go next, Daryl Grove?
Let's stay in Italy.
Sure.
For Roma's 3-0 win over Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea, the only English team to
not be on top,
to not get it done. I'm going to say thumbs up to Edin Dzeko for inventing the backwards flick on for the first goal. Have you seen the first goal in this game? El Shaarawy scores after 39 seconds. So Kolarov, our old friend, serves it in, and I can't tell if Dzeko means this or not, and if he means it, it's a thumbs up. If he doesn't, then it's thumbs neutral. But I think that he runs into it, sees El Shaarawy running in behind him, and sort of manages this weird turn of the neck, Exorcist style, so another Halloween-themed thing. I know it's November 1st or 2nd by now, right? Maybe I'm too late with this. But manages to twist his head around and head it back into the path of El Shaarawy. And it just reminded me what a smart player Edin Dzeko is.
Yeah, I mean, to go in there and you kind of get a little bit reminder of oh yeah, he's very good too. Yep. Serie A, you're doing stuff.
Yeah. Oh, but non-Halloween, maybe we could say it's like an owl.
I'm going to go. That works. But I think TSS is going to go the non-standard, at least these days, route. We're going to say whatever holiday was closest. I think is we're not already on to Christmas, which I think a lot of department stores have not advocated that policy. Yeah. But I would say sticking with this game, I'm going to say thumbs down to whatever is happening to Chelsea. Because there are about 4,000 think pieces out there about what's gone wrong at Chelsea.
We need to watch a full Chelsea game and get a feel for what on earth is happening.
I can give you some answers.
We were confused by the lineup, right?
In which way?
You were talking about the centre-backs were weirdly reversed.
I mean, so it's essentially Rudiger, who's right-footed, starts at left centre-back, and then you have...
Cahill?
Yes, Cahill was your right, who's left-footed, and you had David Luiz in the middle. You had Azpilicueta out as like a right wing-back. It was not the standard formation.
And then you had a giant magnet in Aiden Dzeko's jersey and metal in all of the Chelsea defenders' jerseys. Because there's that one goal where they all get attracted to Aiden Dzeko. And
you said Aiden Hazard for a second. I was like, what's happening now? Yeah, I'm with you. Gotcha.
They all get like magnetised and stuck to Aiden Dzeko and forget about all the other Roma players. And I think that's how El Shaarawy ends up with his second goal.
Yes. I mean, and you could look at any number of these goals. I think for the second goal, there's basically a ball just kind of lumped into the middle, and Rudiger, this is another one. I think I've talked about these types of moments before, where like if you went back and looked at it years from now, and you're like, there was a match, like there was some match fixing going on, the player was involved. Like he actively does not step to this ball and kind of lets it bounce by him, and then is like, oh, there's the guy there.
Yeah,
oh
I'm
no,
not sure what happened there.
No, and
maybe he was unaware of the player behind him.
For Roma's third goal, you had like no one really knowing when to step, so the entire back line steps off.
This is the magnet goal I was talking about.
And then like one player. Like I think it would have been right back, so that would have been
Azpilicueta.
Thank you. The right center back, which would have been Gary Cahill. Cahill like does that half step, and then everybody else backs off, but then he doesn't actually go. So then David Luiz has to charge forward, but it gives Diego Perotti enough time to get close enough that he rifles that shot in. But again, it's like either they're over pursuing, or they're all hesitantly backing off, or they don't know who's supposed to step. It just felt very discombobulated.
I thought they need
for
Matt Miazga.
The reigning champions, lest we forget.
It's all good for Matt Miazga.
I think they need N'Golo Kante,
yes,
who has been out with injury, or any of their other like kind of holding midfielders, because Bakayoko is nursing an injury as well. So too is Danny Drinkwater. I think that's a big problem, is that they don't have that kind of midfield cover. And then the other one that I wanted to point at was I think at the penultimate game of last season, that for the final game of the season when Chelsea had already locked up the title, they played a bunch of newbies. But up until that point, they had used 16 outfield players in the entire season. As of now, they've already used 17. And that speaks to you've got multiple competitions, you can't prepare as much, and Antonio Conte, I think, is struggling to get the consistency that he would like.
Is that mostly they didn't have Champions League last year?
Yeah, but I think a big thing for Conte is that he like really in detail prepares for every single game.
I see.
And if you're suddenly like, oh, we had a game 3 days ago, this guy can't play again, all right, you're going to have to jump in there. But if you've been drilling this one guy to do a job, 2 days' notice might not be enough to get like the second choice right back to handle being a left back.
Okay, I'm going to take us back to Britain.
Sure.
And I'm going to say thumbs up to Javi Martinez for braving a Glasgow kiss to score the winner for Bayern Munich against Celtic.
What?
Did you see this?
No, but I feel like we're using very different definitions of a Glasgow kiss.
Do you know what a Glasgow kiss is?
No.
It's a headbutt.
Okay. Oh, no, I'm thinking of a Glasgow smile. Is that what it is?
Chelsea smile.
Chelsea
smile.
Chelsea grin. Yeah.
Chelsea grin is what the Cray brothers did.
Yeah, it's
it's not that.
Let's leave that alone.
He didn't brave that.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, the Joker from The Dark Knight should give you your explanation.
All right, Javi Martinez braved a Glasgow kiss. He got headbutted by Near Britain as he scored the winner for Bayern in the 2-1 win over Celtic. 77th minute header. He ended up with blood pouring out of his head, but also the winning goal. Trade-off.
I feel like when I think of a Scottish person headbutting me, I immediately go Begbie, and then I think about how little I would want that. So well done to him.
That's an Edinburgh kiss when
Begbie that's true.
But it's not that far away.
Is that Hearts versus Hibs? Is that the Edinburgh one?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Bayern beat Celtic 2-1, but a late-ish goal from Martinez.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what else you got?
Since we've talked so much about British teams, let's move away and let's talk about Manchester United's 2-0 win over Benfica. I'm going to say a couple thumbs up in a row. Do you have anything on this game before I move on?
You care if I ruin this?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Thumbs down to the black cat that Mila Svilar ran over, the mirror he broke, and all the cracks in the pavement he stepped on.
Yep.
Because this kid has no luck.
I know. I said thumbs up for him because he probably needs some love.
So this is the Benfica keeper who sort of caught the ball and carried it over his line.
Yep.
The last time Benfica played Man United, it was really embarrassing for him. This time he actually had, from what I saw, a really good game. He saved a penalty from Anthony Martial. Then later in the game, Matic has a shot from distance. It hits the post, bounces back. hits Svilar in the back of the head and goes in. I think it's technically an own goal. I didn't see if it was
It is
listed
definitely
as
an own
such
goal.
because Matic' shot is off target, right? So yeah, so thumbs down to Svilar's luck essentially.
Yes.
I'm just not blaming him. I'm blaming all the mirrors he broke and the cracks in the pavement he stepped on.
And then it's like, even in that game, he saves that first penalty from Anthony Martial, and then there's a second one, and Daley Blind scores it. So it's like, even then, it's like, it won't stand out as like, oh, it was a 1-0, but he saved the penalty. It was a really good game. It was like, oh, no, they're still going to get to score a penalty.
Thumbs up to Daley Blind for solving the penalty crisis that Manchester United briefly had, though. Did you see everybody sort of debating who's going to take it?
He did not solve that.
Who did solve it?
Thumbs up to Jose Mourinho for getting it right again.
How did he solve it?
Because he confirmed after the game that Martial missed the first one, then was subbed off before the second penalty occurred. The obvious taker at that point was Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah.
He is in a bad run of form, so there's an argument that, like,
in terms of taking penalties or as a footballer?
Yes, in terms of taking penalties.
I was
He's missed for Man United, so there was an argument of like, oh, give him this chance. Mourinho essentially stated, I think to a Swedish interviewer, that basically he felt like the game was still on the line and he didn't want to put Lukaku under pressure because there was an idea that maybe if he misses that penalty, that sends him down a path he doesn't want him to go. So he doesn't let Lukaku take it.
Typical Mourinho.
He calls Daley Blind over and says, I want you to take it. The other key reason why I think this is typical Mourinho is because...
I didn't necessarily mean that in a good way, but...
Well... Here's why it's typical Mourinho, is because I have seen it reported that Svilar studied the penalty kick tendencies of every single standard penalty taker for Man United. Daley Blind is not a standard penalty taker for Man United.
That's typical Mourinho in a good way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So basically, Svilar had memorized all the usual suspects, so in came the irregular to rifle it straight down the middle of the goal, basically.
Oh, Jose.
Yep.
That's why he is the special
And
one.
I want to say thumbs up, but also down to Scott McTominay, because he gets his first Champions League start for Manchester United. He's 20 years old, central midfielder. But I want to say thumbs down as well for reminding me that we can't really know too much about really young players. Because in 2015, only 2 years ago, McTominay was 5'6", and a lot of people were like, "You're too short. You're never really going to make it at this point. You're going to have to look elsewhere."
No, he's 8'7".
He is 6'4". He had a 10-inch growth spurt, which is part of the reason why he is now suddenly starting in the center midfield for Man United in the Champions League.
And how old is he now?
He is 20. So from the time he was 18 to 20, he grew 10 inches.
That's a weird growth spurt.
It is a
Normally
very weird
you
growth
get that
spurt.
much younger,
Yes.
right?
I saw a lot of jokes about like he knew Mourinho was coming. So he was like, I got to get tall.
Did a lot of supplement shopping.
Yeah. So those are my thumbs up for that game. And yes, I feel for Svilar, though.
Oh, it'll work out for him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will.
So, speaking of
He
Belgian...
also said ain't in an interview, which totally threw me. I'm like, what? What are you doing
Speaking of
saying ain't?
Belgian keepers, I'm going to say thumbs up to Silvio Proto and his reactions. You know
All
who
right.
this is?
I do not.
He's the Olympiacos keeper. He's the Olympiacos
yes, right,
keeper
right.
that got Olympiacos a 0-0 draw with Barcelona. And based on what I saw, it was all Barcelona. He saved at least 3 attempts by Messi, like one-on-one attempts with Messi. But the best one is one of those sneaky diagonal corners that teams sometimes take. Barcelona took one that found Messi at the top of the box, gave Messi a chance to shoot. Messi shoots. Luis Suarez does a star jump over it, like to put the keeper off, like classic sneaky Luis Suarez stuff. Proto is still able to react at the last second and stop this ball going in. It was probably the best chance of the game.
That works.
So Olympiacos get a 0-0 draw with Barcelona thanks to Silvio Proto.
I will move us to sadder news, which is thumbs down to Borussia Dortmund just in general. Because 1-1 draw at home versus Apoel.
Yeah.
That leaves them with, 2 points, I believe, from
Yep,
4
I'm looking
games
at
in the
table,
Champions
yeah.
League?
So Spurs and Madrid are both ahead of them. They're not going to make it, are they?
Probably not. I mean,
Mathematically, they still could catch
There it
Real
is.
Madrid, but
they will not.
they probably won't.
And really, actually, if you look at it from a broader perspective, very worrying signs from Borussia Dortmund. In the last 5 games, 1 win, 1 loss, 3 draws, and that win was in the DFB Pokal against a third division club. That was a 5-0 win. Outside of that, they've been struggling to score and struggling to keep a clean sheet.
Yep.
So
Like a boss.
Yeah, and Peter Bosz is saying like, "Oh, it's not a problem. It's not the system. We'll figure it out." But pressure's kind of on because
Yep.
again, as we talked about, Bayern Munich getting the results, scrapping their way to wins, and seem like maybe a little bit of the fun is back at Bayern Munich. And so maybe you wonder if Dortmund don't get it right fast, if things start to separate drastically.
I agree. So I almost don't want to dwell on that because we were so high on Pulisic for so long, and not that Pulisic did anything wrong in this game that I know of, but it just seemed
he played
like
the entire game. He might have been subbed out late. But
there's definitely a feeling of like, okay, he's going to the World Cup. He's going to be this breakout start at the World Cup. He's in the Champions League, and suddenly he is probably in the Europa League and not going to the World Cup.
It does feel a little bit like for a lot of American players who are, especially the ones involved in the qualification campaign, it has been a little bit of like a downturn in form. So Pulisic, not necessarily him, but like kind of the situation around him. And even we were reading before we started recording, Bobby Wood's manager at Hamburg basically saying that like he has to pull himself out of this. He's in a terrible run of form. He could be a good striker. That's not a great phrase, but right now he's like showing no goal scoring instincts. So maybe we just need to pick me up, Americans. Maybe that will be against Portugal in November.
So if Bobby Wood's not cutting it, it sounds like we need more Americans in Europe.
Correct.
And we have a new sponsor today.
We do.
That might be able to help out with that, especially if there's someone out there listening who might have what it takes. So today's sponsor for the first time is AX Soccer Tours.
Tell us about them, Daryl.
AX Soccer Tours. They've got sessions coming up in North Carolina, Florida, and Texas, November, December 2017. What happens is you go along, you play in front of European scouts and coaches, and if you've got what it takes, you may get the opportunity to get a contract with a European team. The emphasis on the may, because you better be good.
Yeah, it's basically a 3-day tryout. You showcase your skills. You try to prove yourself. It's essentially like trialing with 5 different European clubs at the same time.
Because all the scouts and coaches on the side.
You've got those kind of 3 days. It's a short period, but they can see what you're made of. They can kind of test your intangibles and your tangibles and see how it works.
They have a machine that does that?
Yeah, it does both.
They watch you play.
It's tangible feeler. It's all one word. It's German. There's an umlaut in there.
So if you're 16 or older, you can have the opportunity to go and play in front of these scouts and coaches. Now, we don't want to make any guarantees, obviously, but according to AX Soccer Tours, 100 plus players have been signed to pro contracts in Europe on the back of some of these tours, and they will let you know afterwards either you were good enough or you were not. They're not gonna string you along and say, yeah, you're really good. You should definitely do this. If you are not, you are not, and they will tell you.
This is true. Now, full disclosure, they're not just doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. You do have to pay to register to be able to attend the camp. You can't just show up, otherwise you'd have millions of people. It'd be like the Always Sunny episode where everyone can try out for the Eagles. It's just nonsense and calamity.
But you do get to meet fake Donovan McNabb, right?
Well, he's not fake Donovan McNabb. He's also fake Tiger Woods, too.
So you get $100 off
McDonald's.
The AX Soccer Tour. You get $100 off the AX Soccer Tour fee if you use the discount code TOTALSoccerShow, all one word, at axsoccertours.com. The link, of course, will be in the show notes, but you can register for the upcoming events in North Carolina, Florida, or Texas. But I wanted to spin this a little bit and think about if we could get a player to this tour, to an AX Soccer Tour event, who would you want to get in front of the scouts to try and get them to Europe? Obviously, a player that's not in Europe already.
Do you mean besides myself?
I mean,
because that's the obvious
as well
answer.
As yourself. I assume you and I are both going and we're both going to make it.
I mean, yeah. You've actually done a trial before,
they
right?
They need 37-year-old centre-backs in Europe.
I mean, obviously. And 33-year-old whatever I am.
Winger/forward?
Speaking of which, thank you, Grey Hair Gaming,
forwards.
for saying I was 30. That made me feel good. Yeah, sure, wide forward. Yes, so we've thought about this, and I think I'm going to go kind of an obvious route because it's a player who we think maybe has already started to look into a move, but I think he definitely needs one. Maybe AX Soccer Tours could help. It's Kellen Acosta.
Kellen Acosta, yes. So Kellen Acosta has been talking since last summer about this past summer about a move to Europe.
He has, but he's one who I think like ticks a lot of boxes for me in the sense that it does feel like he's gone as far as he can in Major League Soccer, but also maybe as far as he wants to go in Major League Soccer. So it feels like he is looking for one, but he's almost to the point where he's fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
We were so excited about him. Now we're kind of looking at other players and thinking, oh, maybe that's somebody we want to see some more of. So it seems like it's the ideal time to go and really try to prove himself in one of the like higher level leagues. We'd like to see him in a Bundesliga or even in the Eredivisie. But
I think Eredivisie is the best fit for Kellen
Acosta.
Probably,
yeah, just to get him a little bit more acclimated.
I think the obvious answer is Tyler Adams because we're all hype on
I feel like
Tyler
you're intentionally
Adams.
Not choosing him.
Yeah, I'm not going to choose him because we've just talked about him so much recently that it might be too much.
It does feel like we, looking in your direction, have reached the point where we're like a couple more mentions away from a restraining order. So yeah, let's leave him out and say who else. That's it. If we send him to Europe, restraining order is not a big issue. So there we go. That could work too.
We have a restraining order of 3,000 miles.
Yeah. I don't think that's allowed.
One large ocean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose Paul Arriola.
Yep.
I want to get
thought about
Paul
him, but I
Arriola
didn't want to choose him because of DC.
in front of some European scouts because I think Arriola came to DC from Liga MX. Where was he at? Was he at Tijuana? He was, right?
Yes.
Because I think he wanted to be in the US, ready to get prepped to make sure he got on that World Cup squad. And then maybe the move to Europe was coming later. But now, obviously, he's not going to Russia, so he can at least get over the sea. If he plays in front of some scouts, I really think he could play at a much higher level. I'm a big fan of Paul Arriola.
He genuinely was my first thought after Tyler Adams. But then I was like, I don't want to do that to DC. He's got a new stadium. They need a good season. Let's keep him there, and then he can move on for more money.
All right, so to be very clear, because AX Soccer Tours is a new sponsor, it's not players who are already professional. Tyler Adams will not be there when you go to an AX Soccer Tour.
No.
But it is about trying to catch that talent that is in the United States that has fallen through the net and doesn't currently, have a contract. So if you think you have what it takes to go and play for a European team, and it could be Scandinavia, it could be the Netherlands, it's not all Premier League because, that's a ridiculous standard to try and reach. But if you think you've got what it takes, then register at axsoccertours.com. The showcases will be in the tryouts. Will be in North Carolina, Florida, and Texas. Use the discount code Total Soccer Show for $100 off your tryout fee. Limited time only for the winter 2017 tryouts.
Thank you to AX Soccer Tours for sponsoring today's show. We're always happy to have a new sponsor on, and we're always happy if a sponsor sticks around. So let's see how it goes. But I want to say, talking about young, promising Americans, maybe this one doesn't need a move, but I do want to say before we move on to our MLS coverage, thumbs up to Jonathan Gonzalez.
What's he done?
He has started and played 83 minutes as Monterrey beat Santos Laguna 4-1 to advance.
Did this happen tonight?
It did, to the Copa MX semifinals. Semifinals.
Cup,
Yes, so that was good. Not quite so good as the team they beat with Santos Laguna, who started Ventura Alvarado and Jorge Villafaña in that 4-1 drubbing. So that's not ideal.
Dear.
But the other good news...
They're probably 50% culpable for the goals, right? If they're probably the left back and the centre back between them.
Played the whole game. I checked that. So at least there's that much. And I think Santos Laguna also had to deal with a red card, so that doesn't really help things. But I'm going to do happy sandwich because Gonzalez started. That's good. 2 Americans did and they got beat. That's bad. But the good is that, according to sources, Jonathan Gonzalez has firmly turned down the Mexican Federation and has, I guess, officially committed to the United States,
really?
although without any quotes and without any real hard evidence behind it.
I've read some sort of reports and stories, but no hard quote. I think this is all coming about because it seems like Jonathan Gonzalez is going to be named to the roster for the United States against Portugal. That's what the feeling is, right? And there may have been a last-minute play by the Mexican Federation to be like, last chance, last call, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think that's
Jonah, right? They call him Jonah.
I think that's essentially what happened because it's a journalist talking to the head of the Mexican Federation who essentially says
that's what the story is.
We've pursued him a couple times. We've talked to him a few times. He has always kind of said he remains committed to the United States. So then he played for them in the World Cup, in the U20 World Cup, and that was enough, I guess.
Did he? Not this past World Cup. Or did he?
That's what their president said. That's all I can say. So. Who knows what he meant by that one, but either way, he said basically that closed the door. So maybe he thinks he played in the U20 World Cup, and let's not tell him otherwise.
There was a young kid with a Mexican team on that U20 World Cup roster.
Maybe that was him.
I'm not sure how much he played.
Maybe
I thought he was an attacking midfielder.
Who knows?
Oh, we should have researched this before we recorded the show.
Probably, but either way, so it's basically the president of the federation saying it seems like that door is closed. But the fact that he said "seems like" makes me think that they're probably going to take one more run at it, just to make sure.
Why not have a go? Why not have a go? Right. Do you want to talk MLS?
I do.
So one of the games that we didn't cover because it only happened a couple of nights ago was Columbus Crew's 4-1 first leg win over New York City Football Club, to give them their full name.
Yes.
So do you want to do this thumbs up, thumbs down style?
Sure.
Yeah, all right. Where do you want to start?
I'm going to say thumbs up to the fourth official for a gutsy decision after he subbed on at halftime.
He subbed on at halftime, took control of the game with what looked like a fake muscle shirt he was wearing.
And a fake badge as well.
Yeah, but then I think used the video review system to get the call right.
Yes.
To send off New York City FC centre-back Alexander Callens. Definitely a red card.
I mean, yes. And
Adrian Healy did not seem convinced on the broadcast, but he elbowed Justin Merrim in the face.
Yeah, he definitely didn't buy the contact there, and this is where I tend to believe that if the color commentator doesn't jump in right away to agree, it means he disagrees and doesn't want to do so publicly on air.
I feel like Teletomo was just staring at Adrian Healy with one of those a big raised eyebrow.
Yeah,
I would guess.
What?
Yeah,
because that was all right, first of all, there was contact there, and it was Callens absolutely leading with his elbow. But on top of that, it's an intentional act, and you can tell because if it's an accidental elbow, you sort of like, oh shoot, like you've seen a person who has their elbows too high, and it's like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
There is that sort of reaction.
Like,
And
my bad.
It's a lingering, like, who else can I elbow with this elbow? Like, it stays up.
There's no need for it to be that high.
No,
and also, it's an act of vengeance, right? Because
Yes.
Merrim's not innocent in this.
No, there's a little bit of scrap.
He's pushed him early on. Is it a corner kick or a free kick that's about to be served in? So there's that pushing and shoving that always happens. It's par for the course, right? But I think Collins overreacts and elbows Merrim in the face. Maybe he thinks he's not going to be seen. He forgot about video review.
Yeah, and I think, then I think it's a case of face don't lie, because when that red comes out, Collins is not that surprised, doesn't really protest that much. Sort of like,
I did that.
That's probably fair.
I did that.
But it is VAR, and it is the fourth official, because I guess the starting center official subbed out, was injured, pulled something. So the fourth official comes on, serves as center ref, hands out that red card using VAR. So well done to all of the aspects of officiating in that moment.
Yeah, because it gets highlighted a lot when VAR gets it wrong or doesn't help in some way. This seems to be a case where it solved it pretty quick.
Yes.
Yeah? So also it was 1-0 at that point. Things fell apart pretty fast. I really think that the story of this game is... I'm not sure what to call him, Callens. Let's go Callens, right?
Yep.
Callens' red card is where it really falls apart, right? Because I think Columbus Crew scored their second not long afterwards, and it ends up 4-1.
It does.
But it starts with my thumb pointing up for Pedro Santos for being wide awake.
Yep, I have thumbs up to Columbus pressure, but I'm guessing it's the same thing.
Yeah, basically the same thing. So I don't know if this was the plan, but we joked earlier about Will Trapp's diagonal balls. So Will Trapp played a diagonal ball out of the back. I think NYCFC player won it, right? Did Ben Sweat win it?
You think he did? He absolutely did. I feel like this is you just trying to jumpstart the Will Trapp bandwagon right here. Like, he played a long ball that was headed clear easily and should have easily been turned and like probably countered with, and instead NYCFC gave the ball away.
Agree, but I do think possibly one of Columbus Crew's plan is long diagonal ball like into the forward line, and then if the opposition wins it, then you pounce on that sort of second ball. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Sweat heads it to Rodney Wallace. Wallace takes like a touch, thinking he's got a little bit of time, but Pedro Santos is on it. He is on Rodney Wallace and he strips him of the ball, and away we go. I think he gets it to Higuain. Higuain shoots. The ball is spilled, and then the ball is in the back of the net with Kamara.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you didn't see this sequence, it is roughly the equivalent of like the quarterback throwing the ball long, the cornerback intercepting it, and then like just handing it over to the wide receiver, like, hey man, I should have done that. Here, go have another chance. And that's pretty much what happens. NYCFC are just very like lazy. It's mostly Rodney Wallace, I think, is just very slow in possession. He has his like...
I think he's just unaware that Pedro Santos is coming.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be. You're in your own defensive third. You're facing your own goal. You've got to understand there's probably going to be pressure. I need to be smarter with this. And he just kind of slowly approaches the ball. Ball gets intercepted. And like 5 seconds later, it's in the back of the net.
I want to give some defense to Rodney Wallace because I feel like it's that thing where he's facing the wrong way and I think he wants to turn or he wants to play it back, and there's no real option to pass it backwards. So he's like kind of trapped suddenly, and then Pedro Santos is on him. You know, I mean, obviously he could do better.
Yep.
But he's sort of in a bad spot because of the way Columbus go after that second ball.
He's so intimidated by the long ball from Will Trapp. Is that
That's
what you're saying?
Yeah, he's like, wow, that was incredible.
I'm not letting this happen.
He should play for Spurs.
Sure. So that is certainly an aspect of it, is that like initial pressure leads to the first goal. But I want to say to Mr. Ring, who starts at the center midfield
Alexander
for NYCFC.
Ring, I believe, number 8. Yeah.
I want to say similar thing for him, only I'm going to add on, don't double down on failure, because he's another one. He gets caught in possession. He takes a sloppy touch. He's under that pressure, and he's trying to make up for it. And he's so desperately trying to make a pass back to his center back because he has made a mistake that in desperately trying to make a play, he basically gets the MLS assist.
Sorry, I ruined your joke. I'm sorry. I stepped on it.
It's all right.
I had clumsy legs just like Alexander Ring.
There you go. That's fine. I was going to say you've got Sweet D's timing for my second Always Sunny reference of the evening, but sure, yours works too.
All right, finally, I want to give a thumbs up to Harrison Afoul for casting a spell on all the NYCFC defenders.
Did you call him a fool?
Yeah, isn't it? It's either so he's got a difficult name to pronounce. You either call him Awful or a fool, and I don't know which one. Awful. Well, then Awful is like beef runoff.
Awful? I'm going with that one. I would go that over a fool. I'm pretty sure he doesn't love that.
Let's go Harrison.
Okay.
Go Harrison.
Harry to me. Harrison to you.
He made the NYCFC defense look like a bunch of fools.
Yep.
Like awful.
I'm shaking my head, but I agree.
And he made them look awful.
He did.
So any pronunciation of Harrison's second name is what he made the NYCFC defense look like.
This is true.
So thumbs up to him for magnificent wordplay.
But I really don't
caused by his ball play.
But I don't get it. I really don't, because he is not this like
no appreciation for that.
No, I've moved us on quickly. No, like he is not a person who's known for shooting from distance. It's not as though he is this like lethal striker from distance where you've got to close him down, or he's so intimidating that we need 7 people to stand near him.
Yeah.
But he fakes that first shot. He's got 5 defenders near him. 2 bite on it so hard that he creates that little bit of a gap, and the other 3 don't move at all, so then that gap's even bigger. He then dribbles into that, and the reaction to that from the NYCFC players is, let's just make a circle around him.
So yeah, he ends up dribbling through what must be about 6 defenders by the end of it. The only one who tries to make an actual tackle on him is Yangel Herrera, who I think misses him because full cuts.
The only one who comes close to making a tackle on him.
Everyone else just seems so terrified that he's going to shoot that I think he doesn't even have to fake to shoot. They're like biting on it before he's even done it. And they're just sort of flinching like they've all drank too much coffee or something. You know what I mean? Everyone's like really flinching.
But then I think you're forgetting one key part of this, because it's not just that he does that one flinch, they all bite, then he scores. He then does the other fake as Ring goes sliding by him. So that's what I mean when I say that, Herrera was not the only one who made a tackle, but he was the only one who came even marginally close.
So Ring, my memory of this is that, or my understanding of this, is that maybe he's just sick of seeing everybody sort of like not actually make a tackle, so he just comes in at the last minute thinking, I'm going to be the saviour, big slide tackle at the last minute, and Affle just sort of goes, nope, just slightly in the other direction, and Ring goes sliding past.
Yeah, Ring took the like flying...
Like Billy Wright trying to catch Puskás in the 50s.
You've got that, like, I was going to go with, he's got the flying toaster approach, the flying toaster screensaver, as it just flies from left to right, and that's it, just out of frame, in frame, out of frame again. That's basically what he does.
Does anyone still have that?
I hope so.
Just
I'm sure
Alexander
somebody
Ring.
does, to be ironical. And then I also want to add, not necessarily for this goal, but thumbs down to Sean Johnson. Because for the first goal, it's a shot from Higuain. Higuain does turn. It is through traffic, so that makes it a little bit difficult. Yeah. But again,
he gifts it to Kamara.
I mean, he parries it back into open play, like right in front of goal. That's not great. And then for the third goal, Justin Miram's goal, it is basically a shot right at him that he kind of, I don't know what he's doing. We think maybe he was leaning the wrong way, preparing to dive and trying to cheat a little bit.
I think the obvious shot for Miram is to go far post, right? So that's what Johnson's thinking about saving. But in the end, what Miram does, instead of going far post or near post, I think he just hit it as hard as he can with the outside of his foot. And I think he just thinks, I'm going to put some knuckle on this, and just hits it. And I think that's what essentially confuses Sean Johnson. It's sort of like it's like Mourinho choosing the weird penalty taker. Miram chooses the weird shot, and that's what throws Sean Johnson off.
Yeah, I think so. It's like the scene in Jurassic Park where the Raptors trick the game hunter into thinking he's going one way and he goes another.
Can we go one show without Jurassic Park?
Clever girl. I think I established earlier
Miram's a clever
that
girl.
when you brought it back up, I'm now going to reference Jurassic Park in every show.
So Miram's a clever girl. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, in this situation, as is Columbus, who got the win.
Yeah, 4-1.
Yep.
So the other reason this is a big deal is Columbus, obviously, there's that whole Anthony Precourt wanting to move the team to Austin thing hanging over this. For me, I'm not sure if you agree or not. I don't think we've talked about this. The longer Columbus stay in the playoffs, the better it is for the Save the Crew movement, because the more attention and exposure it gives to Columbus Crew fans and Columbus Crew as a team. I think I want them to win MLS Cup.
I agree to some extent, and I think that he really doesn't want them to. There were some people saying, I think on Reddit at various MLS Reddit subpages, MLS Columbus Crew and the like, that like some of the gates were closed to get into the stadium. The idea being that maybe he didn't want the stadium to look full when they were doing all the pre-match intro stuff, so it looks sort of like, oh, okay.
Did he just want them to fit in with all the other playoffs?
Exactly. Or
attendance has been bad. It's bad on TV.
Or it's like, you're never going to move New York, like Houston. They're out outlying things, hurricanes and whatnot that cause problems. But with Columbus, like, oh look, their stadium's not full. Maybe they should move. Is I think maybe what people were thinking by those gates not being open.
In the end, wasn't it a decent attendance though?
I mean, yeah.
I think it was like 14,000 in a smaller stadium than the other one, so it even looked much better. Right?
But that's where I think, strangely enough, and I know Columbus fans will not love this, is that it maybe is better if they lose the MLS Cup final. Because then, because if you win it, then he might be like, all right, well, you're welcome, Columbus fans. You got the win. You got one more piece of silverware. Say goodbye to the club. Versus like, made it all the way, so we're a very good club who are capable of making a run, but we didn't quite get that final bit of glory, so we should stay here and keep challenging.
But what if it's like we should move the team to Austin and just add the final pieces there? Because you would presumably you take all the players with you, so the team would be
that's
the same.
Absolutely what I think he wants to do. Yeah. I'm just saying that narrative doesn't fit. That narrative of like, we almost won it here, so we're going to move somewhere else. Like it's like you can't say like, oh, we're just not doing enough. We're not being competitive enough if you lose in the final.
I think I disagree with you because I think being champions it makes it harder to move because you're the team that is the best in the league.
How many players do you know have retired after they won the championship is my response to that. Because I think if you can go out on top, then you go out on top. Mm-hmm. But if you can say like, one more year, we almost made it. Next year will be the year that we actually win it. Then we can go out. So I feel like it's harder to sell if you lose in the final than if you win.
All right. Well, let's not go around in circles about this like an NYCFC defender. Instead, one thing we both hit on is if Columbus get to MLS Cup, there's a good chance they host it. Despite not being one of the highest seeds in the East.
No, they will host it.
They will definitely host it because the West teams are so far down that Columbus Crew could host MLS Cup if they go all the way.
Yes.
They've got a good chance with that 4-1 win.
Yes. I think the only team in the East that wouldn't host it is the Red Bulls. And that seems difficult for them.
Well, we'll see what happens in all the second legs. We'll do, I think my plan at least, I hope you'll join me, is to do the same sort of reviews as we've done for these first legs, right? Which is not super in-depth and in detailed, but we'll definitely watch them and give sort of a quick analysis, especially of the goals and the drama.
That works for me.
Sound good? We have scouting, lots of very good scouting reports still to come, but we also have another sponsor. It's Roughneck Scarves. Roughneck Scarves, longtime sponsors of the Total Soccer Show and stockers of the Total Soccer Show scarf, the official Total Soccer Show scarf, the hello and welcome scarf, not the thing I accidentally typed in the show notes last week.
Well said. Although it was on theme for Halloween.
It was accidentally on theme.
Also the official scarf providers for the U.S. national team or U.S. Soccer, Major League Soccer, the NCAA, and USL.
Yep.
And since we talked about the Champions League earlier, Daryl Grove asked, because you can do those custom scarves, if you were to design a scarf to commemorate this week's Champions League games, what would it look like?
A lot of Spurs answers is what we got, but we've got some of the best ones.
I think before looking at them, you said, what are the chances that 100% of these answers are from Spurs fans? And the answer is not quite 100.
So, first one is from a Spurs fan. Mark Bajarski says his scarf would have Christian Pulisic choosing a Spurs shirt over a Real Madrid shirt. So this is, I think, about Pulisic's sort of eventual move to a bigger team than Dortmund. And Mark seems to think maybe he'll go to Spurs instead of Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think it really
After
would.
Tonight, maybe. If you had to make the decision tonight, then yes.
I think it would depend on what Spurs do this season. I really do. I mean, and not to say that that's a realistic move, but it is worth noting that, like, Spurs, there was the Roy Keane story this week where he said, like, that in his autobiography, he told the story about how, like, lads, it's Tottenham. Like, we can beat them. And now that's kind of changed, that Tottenham are this club that you have to really think about a lot.
Lads, it's one of the best teams in Europe.
Yeah, and so I do think, though, but if you kind of, like, crash out of the Champions League, you finish third or fourth in the league, maybe it doesn't look quite as convincing as playing for Los Blancos.
But Pulisic would fit in nicely at Spurs, I'll say that.
I think he'd fit in anywhere he goes.
All right, what else we got, Taylor?
Mike Bate, that's Mike B8, says Atiba Hutchinson on one side, CONCACAF's only 2017-2018 UEFA Champions League group winner on the other. As wordy as it is surprising.
He also sent a follow-up tweet saying, I know this is too early to actually declare, but I just wanted to get his name out there. So do you know who Atiba Hutchinson plays for?
Besiktas.
Besiktas, yeah. Besiktas doing amazing things. We've got Pepe and my man, Ricardo Quaresma.
There's another one in there that you love. It's Pepe's centre-back partner.
Pepe's centre-back partner
Gary Medel.
Wow.
Yep.
This might be the team of my dreams.
I mean, there's some crazy people in there.
What? So
literally and figuratively.
Okay, so I haven't researched this, but what's the policy at Besiktas with their recruitment? Because these all seem like guys
I think it's sure. Is their recruitment policy.
But they seem like guys who are not quite top level anymore, but still have plenty to give, or have some weird flaw like they always use the outside of their foot, like Quaresma, and they just gather them all into one sort of ragtag team that's going to win the Champions League group stage.
If you would like the brief background on it, basically what
top
I would
of
say...
Group G, I just checked.
Yes. They have a history of, like, challenging, obviously, but I would say they're not as big as Galatasaray and Fenerbahce, who are historically, like, the biggest teams in Turkey. A large part of that was that their stadium was very outdated. They being Beşiktaş, it was one of the ones that's like they've slowly expanded over the years. Their training facility is in the heart of Istanbul, but it's not quite as nice.
You said brief, right?
Yes, but basically is that they have a brand new stadium, which is state of the art. It's right on the Bosphorus. It's in the heart of Istanbul and like the European side, and so they've become all of a sudden like all the more attractive of a destination for top tier
I
talent.
Okay.
Galatasaray way out in the suburbs, Fenerbahce on the Asian side, so not quite as like desirable of a location. So I think that factors into why suddenly
it's their central Istanbul.
And so it's this cosmopolitan city. You're right on the Bosphorus. You can play a game and then go sit at a cafe on the water, and like it's kind of this very exciting place to be.
You can be Ricky Q's teammate,
and then the blue collar team, which is another aspect of it too that I think lures people in. But in the past, the recruitment policy has been, sure, you'll work, why not? And I think they've stabilized a little bit more, done better with their recruitment. They've got a lot of young Turkish players, a lot of proven Turkish players, and then proven and unproven alike European players coming in as well.
We'll go Atiba Hutchinson. So Quinn Fitzgerald says, if he was to design a roughneck scarf, it would have Harry Kane with Tottenham on one side, and then Harry Kane in the future with Real Madrid on the other.
A lot of speculative transfers in this one.
Yeah. I don't think Harry Kane, here's my prediction, Harry Kane goes nowhere ever. Harry Kane plays for Spurs his whole life.
I was going to say, you mean in terms of transfers?
Yeah, in terms of transfers.
Not he fails miserably
he
always.
Never leaves North London. Yeah, Harry Kane stays with Spurs his whole career, like John Terry, but without the weird move to Aston Villa at the end.
That works. Kenton Staler, you could have also gone Ryan Giggs. Kenton Staler, I'd make it spooky, Javi Martinez covered in blood, the ghost that fouled Casemiro, and then Dortmund's High Line.
That's a great 1, 2, 3 of jokes from Kenton Staler. Thank you, Kenton. So if you would like to buy any scarf in the Roughneck Scarf store, including the Total Soccer Show Hello and Welcome scarf, go to roughneckscarves.com. Enter the discount code Total Soccer Show, all one word, at checkout. You'll get a whopping 20% off of the cost of your scarf. Total Soccer Show for 20% off. Link will be in the show notes.
So thank you, as ever, to Roughneck Scarves, and thank you to everyone who submitted their custom scarf ideas. There were many, many, many good ones, and as we said, many, many, many of them featured Tottenham at some point.
We had a late one coming in that didn't feature Tottenham.
Ooh.
It was from Jonathan Burns, and his scarf would say, Aguero with, I want to say 10 O's, exclamation mark, 178 and counting. And then on the other side would be a photo of Pep just smiling as he thinks about his substitutes.
So you laughed at this one. I don't quite get that one. Is it just because Pep is so happy with his bench?
Yeah, we think about the Man City bench. It's frightening.
See, I thought it was more so that Pep Guardiola is so concerned with like the tactics on the field. Like, I must change this. I have to do this as everyone else is celebrating being up 4-2.
He's not worried about
No.
He's not worried about Sergio Aguero's goals. Yeah, that's also
my right center back was 6 inches too far inside, and I don't like that. We got to work on that in training.
Cancel the match. Let's just forfeit. So thank you again to Roughneck. How many times have we said thank you to Roughneck Scarves?
Several.
I feel like they've been our sponsor for 2 years.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah, we do.
Each and every one of them.
Yeah, brand loyalty. Loyalty. Total Soccer Show Scouting Network time. We have many. We did an update recently. We have many, many more updates already.
There were 2 since the last time I checked it.
Scouting Network is on fire. There's also been a lot of new assignments to the Scouting Network. If anyone's confused, this is one of the ways we support the show is we ask people to make financial contributions to the show. And in exchange, you join the Scouting Network. We give you a young player to scout. Then you send us reports. And that is this segment.
So we've got several to get to. I will get us off.
Sounds a little bit purred happily, and that is this segment.
Yes. Orion Lahushki Escobar scouting Tommy Thompson, 22-year-old American attacking midfielder for San Jose. Tommy played 62 minutes for San Jose against Vancouver and played fairly poorly, as did the rest of his team, as they were eliminated 5-0. However, Tommy did win the Humanitarian of the Year award for San Jose, which recognized his efforts in a variety of different fundraisers and charitable initiatives.
I mean, yeah, that's good. But
sure.
I would prefer to see him doing the fundraisers and charitable initiatives and getting a bunch of goals and assists.
And I think he got savagely destroyed for one of those goals, so that wasn't great either.
Oh, dear. Alex Rendon is scouting Oren McKinzer-Gaines, the 19-year-old American winger at Darmstadt. Alex says on October 20th, Gaines made his first start for Darmstadt in a 1-0 away loss to Fortuna Düsseldorf, playing 45 minutes on the left wing before being subbed off at half-time. He did not make the matchday squad for Darmstadt's 1-1 draw with Holstein Kiel this past weekend. He did, however, make an appearance for 1 minute and 45 seconds in an interesting Halloween-themed video that his club put out on social media, linked below. Yeah, we took a look at it. At least he is making appearances somewhere.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I don't think this covered him in glory. It's him basically being like, he's clearly been asked a question and then he's responding to it. You don't hear the question. But it is sort of like, yes, I like scary movies. They're fun. I watch them with my friends. It's a very, like, kind of standard interview while he fake plays the piano.
I'm going to blame Darmstadt's social media team more than Aaron Mickens for that.
Yes.
What's next?
Alexander King scouting Tyler Adams. You've heard of him. 18-year-old American midfielder/defender for the New York Red Bulls. Alexander says he's pretty certain Adams is still running around the pitch in Red Bull Arena. In New York's 2-1 playoff loss, Adams whipped in some quality crosses and was a constant threat up the right touchline. Something else worth noting, Adams had 97 touches and completed 73 of 87 passes. He tied with Kleshton for the most pass attempts in that game, which possibly means that the Red Bulls are beginning to trust Adams' talents, specifically in regards to distribution.
Interesting. All right, Craig Turner is getting Joe Gomez, 20-year-old English right-back/centre-back for Liverpool. We got an upgrade. Craig says, Joe Gomez started on the right side of a back three against Huddersfield last weekend. He says that some media outlets reported Liverpool played a 4-3-3, but that for much of the game it looked like a 3-4-3 with Klavan as left centre-back, Matip in the middle, Gomez on the right, and Moreno and Milner were the two wing-backs.
So interesting to see that maybe when we've had the conversation about should he be a centre-back or should he be a right-back, maybe they're going for both.
Yeah.
Right centre-back. That works. Kate Bochenek scouting Timothy Fosu-Mensah, 19-year-old Dutch defender on loan at Crystal Palace from Man United. To be fair, I think she said he's
anywhere that gets him on the field.
Yeah, basically,
right?
yeah.
I saw that.
Timothy Fosu-Mensah has been getting along just fine at Crystal Palace, not blowing anyone away. I might disagree with that. I feel like I've seen some blow-away moments where he's caught up and made some timely tackles, but he's not struggling either. The big news lately, this is disappointing because I do like Timothy Fosu-Mensah. The big news has been that fans have discovered that he has a secret second Twitter account which he uses to hype himself up or defend his official Twitter account.
No way.
When confronted, he denied having the second account, which mysteriously was immediately deleted.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
TFM.
That's not great.
No.
That's not great. Even, I mean, you could make the, like, he's 19 argument. You know better. You know better than that when you're, like, 16.
WTF.
You know better than that when you're, like, 14. I'm going to keep going back. Yeah. It's not great. It's not great.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. This has changed my whole conception.
I know, right?
I
read that too, and I was like, no, this can't be.
Oh, this is like when Donald Trump would call in to newspapers with a fake name and praise Donald Trump, right?
Let's not go that far.
All right, Louis Graf is scouting Joshua Kimmich, the 22-year-old German right-back at Bayern Munich. Louis says Kimmich has been in the news recently. Apparently, Barcelona and Man City both bid $44 million for him. I guess that's translated. But Bayern rejected them, arguing that he's worth more. Correct, I would say, in today's market. The bad news is that since Jupp took over, Kimmich has been on the bench twice and been subbed out twice around the 80th minute. I think subbing out around the 80th minute is okay.
Yeah, that's probably fine.
That means you were very important, but we're going to save your legs.
Sure, something like that. Ben Sundstrom scouting Joshua Pinadath, 15-year-old American winger for the Ajax Academy.
Do people know about Joshua Pinadath?
I mean, they're about to, but what else would you... You're going Joshua, by the way?
No, I think I just got distracted by the Joshua Kimmich.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's Joshua Pinadath, yeah. So it's just exciting. There's a 15-year-old at the Ajax Academy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's several young teenagers there now, because you got Serginho Dest as well.
I would say all teenagers are young.
Pinadath's goal for the Ajax U15s was nominated for the Ajax Goal of the Year. He tends to play as an inverted winger, makes great off-the-ball runs, and possesses a deadly right foot. And it's worth noting that his younger brother also plays in the Ajax youth system. So
we're going to assume also
lots of
American?
youngins. Yes, I think so.
Right. Ben Henderson is scouting Luca Della Torre, the 19-year-old American midfielder for Fulham, for the Fulham first team.
Yep.
Luca made his league debut for Fulham on October 28th against Bolton, says Ben, coming off the bench in the 89th minute. While he didn't play a significant role, Fulham tied the game soon after LDLT came on. Della Torre was also named to the bench in Fulham's subsequent game against Bristol City. So after a prolonged period on the sideline, it seems he's back in first-team consideration. Go on, Luca.
There we go. Matthew Anderson scouting Godfrey Donsa, 21-year-old Ghanaian midfielder for Bologna. Donsa was called up to the out-of-World Cup contention Ghana squad for their upcoming match against Egypt. It's his first call-up in more than 2 years. He has 1 goal in 9 appearances for Bologna this year and has been the subject of transfer rumors since this summer, so a January move is not out of the question. Do you feel like maybe it's like a symbiotic relationship that if Ghana go to the World Cup, the United States get to go, and if one doesn't, then the other doesn't?
We should organise a game around mid-June. USA v Ghana.
I think I want that. It's going to be 2 tenths. Even if it means nothing, it's still 2 tenths.
We should play them 4 times this summer. Todd Ito is scouting Takafusa Kubo, the 16-year-old Japanese player for FC Tokyo. Todd says Kubo was called up to the FC Tokyo first team for the first time. We've been waiting for this, right? The next J-League game is not until November 17th against Sagan Tosu and actually ends on December 2nd. That means 3 more games until the start of the next season in February. Todd promises to keep us updated on any developments. I also think Kubo actually signed a professional contract for the first time with FC Tokyo.
Hooray, contracts. Patrick Keeler scouting Anthony Robinson, 20-year-old American-English, we'll just say American left back, on loan at Bolton from Spurs.
Wait, he was born in Milton Keynes.
American he is. Patrick says, I worry for Anthony's health. Why? Because anytime he has any career momentum, he has a horrible injury. And momentum and buzz is what Robinson has now. An American Soccer Now article and a great performance on Tuesday with Bolton have Anthony seeming like a lock to start at left back for the USMNT against Portugal in a few weeks. This can only end badly, right? Says Patrick.
Wait, isn't he at Everton? I thought Anthony Robinson was at Everton and then loaned to Bolton.
Excuse me, yeah, you're right. He's on loan from Everton.
Is that a Taylor typo?
I believe that's a Taylor typo.
All right, so we won't cast aspersions on Patrick's scouting.
But we will say that the assist Anthony Robinson had for Bolton was fairly impressive. Yeah.
It was rapido. Yeah. He gets down to the other end of the field in record time.
Yeah, and then intercepts a back pass from the defender to the goalkeeper, and then plays the ball back to the far post. Admittedly, I think he's aiming for a player who then makes a near post run, but another Bolton player is there to smash it home.
He has just exerted a lot of energy to get to that ball. Genuinely, I think that keeper was correct to assume that Anthony Robinson was not going to get to the ball first.
Yeah.
And yet he turned out to be wrong.
I'd say so.
Really worth seeing that highlight. I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes.
All right.
If you can share it with me.
By all means.
All right. Katie Sutton is scouting Katie Cousins, 21-year-old American holding midfielder at Tennessee. Katie says that Katie started all 19 games for the Tennessee Vols as they finished their regular season with a 14-3-1 record. She controlled the midfield for UT and was the darling of the SEC network commentators, at least during the games that were televised in the St. Louis market. She earned first-team All-SEC honours for her regular season play. Unfortunately, the Vols lost 1-0 to Vanderbilt on a PK, which ended their tournament run and may have ended their chances at getting a bid for the NCAA tournament. It feels like Katie Cousins is the caliber of player that should be playing in the tournament.
What do you mean?
Well, just like she had such a high profile, wasn't she? Sort of the high school player of the year, all that kind of stuff. It seems like maybe she should not be playing for a team that doesn't make the tournament.
I see what you mean there. Because I was like, that's not how the tournament works, right? It's
no,
not like you're very good, you get to go.
I'm not saying she should just be like the Katie Cousins 11 and we're going to enter the tournament no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Arjen Robben would like that system so he could go to the World Cup. But yeah, sadly, that's not how it works out.
The Katie Cousins, Arjen Robben All-Stars should enter tournaments.
I do have to ask you, Daryl. We're going to enter the Daryl Guesses American Trivia.
Uh-oh.
What do you think the Tennessee what is their actual nickname? So you see Vols there. What do you think that means?
Voldemort's, obviously.
I feel like you're stalling for time and trying to give a joke answer.
You know me too well. So Vols is not their nickname? But Vols is short for something like that.
It is. It's tough, right?
Volunteers.
There you go.
Yes.
The Tennessee Volunteers. You got it. Not the tiny animal that burrows underground. Yes.
Or the Voldemorts.
Yeah. Not them either. Otherwise, it'd be the Tennessee he who shall not be named. Or must not be named? Should not be named?
Shall not be named.
It's very fancy.
That'd be a good name for a university then.
Would it?
No. Maybe just Hogwarts.
Yeah.
When things have gone very wrong at Hogwarts.
I was going to say, yeah, you can't do that.
Okay.
Crossing streams.
Thank you to Orion, Alex, Alexander, Craig, Katie, Lewis, Ben, Matthew, Todd, Patrick, and Katie.
We're such dorks.
For today's scouting reports. Speak for yourself. If you would like to join the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, it is totalsoccershow.com/join.
And I would add that I love that several of these scouting reports featured social media updates because it's always good to know what the player is doing off the ball as well.
Except for Timothy Fosu-Mensah.
No, but that's important. It brings him down because I'll put it this way. Say Fosu-Mensah,
I love him less. Let's just say that.
This is my point, though, is that at the end of the season, if he were permanently sold, I would have been gutted. I'd be like, no, but he's a promising youngster. I'm really excited. And now I'm like, or is he a weirdo who keeps multiple social media accounts and praises himself?
Social media
That's
cheat.
Not good.
He's gaming the system.
You and I, when we first started the show, we wouldn't even do the thing where you send fake mailbag questions as a way to generate things to talk about.
Yeah.
No, it's because it's fakery. You got to earn that stuff, man. And sometimes you get criticized on social media. You don't jump on there on a fake account. And if nothing else, that's licensed to, or that's the obvious thing where you then forget to log out but think you have, and then write the wrong thing into the wrong one, and then get busted hard. And maybe that's what happened here.
Some Russian bots being caught doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's what Fosu-Mensah's up to.
Oh boy, it's a whole separate conversation.
All right. So, thank you again to everybody who has joined the Scouting Network recently. Assignments have been made recently. If you are still waiting for your scouting assignment, please email me, Daryl@TotalSoccerShow.com. Just tell me I am waiting for my scouting assignment. I'll get it to you sooner than I would have otherwise. Squeaky wheel gets the grease in this case. All right, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. This has been theoretically the Wednesday show, but it's quite very late Wednesday night. We're assuming you're getting this on Thursday. So we're not going to do a Thursday show, we don't think, because we don't want to sort of clog up your feed with too many shows. Instead, we'll be back on Friday, where I'll be talking to Morgan Hughes, a member of the Save the Crew movement. I'm going to get the lowdown on sort of how they managed to put that group together, what they've accomplished so far, what they hope to accomplish going forward. I mean, we know what they hope to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's more about how they're going to do it.
I believe
going
Save the
to
Crew?
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you again on Friday.